Om Shanti, and a very good morning to all. Today we are going to read the Murli dated 2nd December 1985. The title of the Murli is Spiritual Power is the Way to Become Free from Bondage. Baba says in today's Murli, he's speaking about the divine benefits of having spiritual power. He says the speciality of this Brahman life is spirituality, that is, Ruhani. Baba also explains in detail about how this spiritual power is linked to all the three thoughts, words, and actions. And this spiritual power is the only way to become free from all the bondages, maybe subtle, maybe physical. So let's read the Murli together. Today, Bap Dada was looking at the power of spirituality of his spiritual children. Because all are his children, every spiritual child has claimed a full right to have spiritual power from the Father. However, Baba was seeing to what extent you have become embodiments of attainment. Every day, all the children call themselves spiritual children and give the return of love and remembrance to the spiritual Father, either through their lips or in their minds, in the form of love, remembrance, and namaste. You do give this return, do you not? The meaning of this is that the spiritual Father calls you spiritual children every day and reminds you of the real meaning of spiritual power, because the speciality of this Brahman life is spirituality. In Hindi, we call spirituality as Ruhaniyat. Okay, and when Baba comes down daily in his versions in the Murli, he daily reminds us of this spiritual power and how are we to stick or stay in this, in the essence of this spiritual power's real, what do we call it, swarup, jisko bole. So Baba says that he daily reminds you, comes and reminds you of the real meaning of the spiritual power, that how are you to become or how are you to experience this. And he says that the speciality of this Brahman life is spirituality. मतलब रूह अपनी नियत में टिकी है, उसी को रूहानियत बोलते हैं. Okay? And that is spirituality. That means the spirit is in its real form, in reality. Spirit being in its real form, experiencing reality, is nothing but spirituality. And this he comes and daily reminds us that you are a spirit, you are a soul. Right? But the Baba says, you transform yourselves and others with the power of this spirituality. The main foundation is this spiritual power. It is with this power that you receive liberation from many types of bondage. See, when we talk about spiritual power, it can be the soul's original powers, experiencing the soul in its original form. And the other meaning to this is catching or gaining this power from Baba, because he began the Murli with this, that you have the right, you take this, but how much are you experiencing it? That depends on you, right? So Baba says, it is with this power that you receive liberation from many types of bondage. Now, this is very subtle because, see, when we realize, not talking about physically or imagining or visualizing myself as only a point of light, not talking about that, but then realizing this deeply, that I am a soul and this is not my sanskar, or this is my particular sanskar, my originality. When we are in that form, it becomes easy to liberate ourselves from the bondages. Like a very simple example to this will be, imagine any of your lockic relationship, if maybe spouse, maybe child, uh, maybe his brother, sister, whatever. He or she is just standing in front of you, maybe not speaking anything, maybe not saying anything. But then what the vibe is that you catch, what is that vibe? It's simply this कि हाँ ये मेरा भाई है, ये मेरी बहन है. That is also, that means if I speak to that person after this consciousness कि हाँ ये मेरा भाई है, ये मेरी बहन है, she's my mother, she's my father, that also in a subtle form is nothing but body consciousness. And that again is a very, very subtle bondage. But today, as we move ahead, Baba is talking about even a, like even more subtle bondage. So Bapdada was seeing that even now there are some subtle bondages which you should have been liberated from, but you are still experiencing. You are unable to put the method to attain liberation into a practical form. What is the reason for this? We need to understand this, that Baba here is not really talking about only visualizing myself as a soul and experiencing that power. No, that can be one of the forms, one of the ways. But what is that real essence of experiencing this spirituality? Rohani. The Baba says, what is the reason for this? It is because you don't know how to use spiritual power in every action. You have to make all three, thoughts, words, and actions, powerful simultaneously. However, what is it that you become loose with? On the one hand, you make your thoughts powerful, but you become a little loose with your words. Sometimes you make your words powerful and you become a little loose with your actions. However, to make all three spiritually powerful at the same time is the way to attain liberation. Whatever I am thinking, I am speaking, and I am doing. Okay? So Baba simply says that one time you work on your thoughts, the other time you work on your words, the next time you work on your karma. See, I am thinking something else, that I am a soul, but my words are not matching that. I am totally speaking something related to the absolute body consciousness. Then my karma is again bringing me and the others also in body consciousness. So this is not a sign of being spiritually powerful. Okay? Because it is the words and the karma that bring the most and tie you the most in the bondages that Baba is speaking about. Maybe in the thoughts, I have this thought, I have this smriti, that yes, I'm a soul, but just as Baba mentioned, it is taking time for us to bring it into words and in action. Right? So further he says, however, to make all three spiritually powerful at the same time is the way to attain liberation. Just as in order to create the world, all three tasks, creation, sustenance, and destruction, are essential. Similarly, to become free from all types of bondage, it is essential to have spiritual power in all three thoughts, words, and actions at the same time. Sometimes you look after your mind and then something is lacking in your words. You then say, I wasn't thinking like that and I don't know why it happened. You have to pay full attention to all three. Why? Because all three of these methods will reveal your stage of perfection and the Father. Very important line. All three of these methods will reveal your stage of perfection and the Father. Because the others will not be able to read the thoughts. They will never be able to even probably catch what I'm thinking. But of course, everybody can witness this through my words, through my actions, through my deeds. Right? So Baba says, in order to attain liberation, spirituality has to be experienced in all three. Those who are fully wise in all three are liberated in life. So Bab Dada was looking at the subtle bondages. These three also have a special connection in terms of subtle bondages. Okay. Further, Baba says, the sign of someone in bondage is that one is influenced by others. Baba further is giving a few signs of a soul who is in a bondage. The first sign being that one is always influenced by others. Someone who is in bondage will not always experience inner happiness, nor will they have the constant experience of happiness. In the physical world, temporary facilities give you the experience of temporary happiness and joy, but there isn't the experience of internal or imperishable happiness. Similarly, souls who are tied by these subtle bondages continue to move along in this Brahman life for a short time on the basis of some service, the power of a gathering, one attainment or another, or some elevated company. And for as long as they have these methods, means they are able to experience happiness and joy. Okay? So this is very clear that if I am doing service, I'm experiencing happiness and joy based on that. Okay? If I am in like a gathering, a sangathan, I'm experiencing the power only till that time. If I have attained something, okay, maybe in somebody's company, I am feeling good only till that time. All these reasons express and reflect that the inner stage, the reality, I am not experiencing that reality and it is still far because I am only experiencing happiness and joy based on all this what is temporary and not permanent. Okay. Now, the vice versa here is also true that when I go into service, when I go into a sangathan, this elevates my inner stage. Okay. This brings me back to my original state, even if I am wandering or whatever my thoughts will be. So this will bring back, but this should not be temporary. This should last for some time, and this should be with me throughout, right? Further, Baba says, however, when the means finishes or is removed, their happiness also finishes. It doesn't stay constant. Sometimes they would dance in such happiness that at that time there is no one like them. However, when they come to a standstill, even a tiny, even a tiny stone will be experienced as a mountain. Because of not having their original power, they dance in happiness on the basis of those means. Once the means are removed, where would they dance? So this is why internal spiritual power in all three forms simultaneously is always essential. But this is very subtle and very deep. To reach to a stage, to this stage, requires a lot of effort, right? Because the spiritual power, Ruhani Shakti, the spirituality, this is what everybody is trying to get close to, right? Close to the essence of what I am, close to the essence of who I am. Where am I going? What am I supposed to do? And then not even keeping that in your thoughts, but bringing that to the practical life that I'm experiencing is something which you call as happening very gradually, a gradual process. Right? Baba says the main bondage is that they have no controlling power over the thoughts in their mind. Because of being influenced by your own thoughts, you experience yourself to be influenced by others. Those who are in bondage to their own thoughts remain busy with this for a long time. You also speak of building castles in the air. You build castles and you then demolish them. You put a big wall. This is why it is called a castle in the air. Just as on the path of devotion, they worship idols, decorate them, and then sink them. In the same way, souls who are tied in bondage to their thoughts build many things, and then they also spoil many of those things. हाँ, व्यर्थ की रचना, व्यर्थ का समय, and then first we create that, we bring it in that thoughts. Okay, later we don't do that. The Bible says it's similar to building castles in the air. Okay? Further, he says they get tired of that wasteful task and also get disheartened. Sometimes, out of arrogance, they blame others for their own mistake. Then, when that time has passed by, they understand and realize that what they did was not right, but because of being influenced by arrogance, in order to justify themselves, they blame others. So the biggest bondage is this bondage of the mind, which locks the intellect. See the vocabulary, see the words Baba's using. The bondage of the mind locks the intellect. It's always man buddhi sanskar, mind, intellect, and sanskars. But if the mind is not able to create powerful thoughts, create good thoughts, then the intellect will never be able to bring it into action. Will never be able to come at a conclusion and decide. Right? So no matter how much you try to explain to them, that they are just not able to understand. The special sign of being in bondage, sorry, the special sign of being in bondage is that the power of realization finishes. And we start blaming others, when we are tied to our own bondages, when we keep on repeating the mistakes, keep on saying sorry, but then this is not coming to an end. Baba says the power of realization finishes there. And this is something very important in Brahman life, because Brahman life requires transformation, parivartan. And the main source of transformation is nothing but the power of realization. Unless and until I realize something, unless and until I realize my mistakes, I will never be able to change myself otherwise. Without this, I won't be able to do anything. So Baba says, this is why, without finishing this subtle bondage, you are unable to experience inner happiness or supersensuous joy for all time. The speciality of the confluence age is of swinging in the swing of supersensuous joy and dancing constantly in happiness. So, what can be said if, after becoming confluence aged, you do not experience this speciality? What can be said? Well, ask. Therefore, check yourself to see that you are not in any type of bondage of thoughts, whether it is a bondage of waste thoughts, a bondage of thoughts of jealousy or conflict, thoughts of carelessness or laziness. Any of these types of thought is a sign of bondage in the mind. So today, Bhaktada was seeing the bondages. How many of you are liberated souls? The big ropes have now ended. There are now these subtle threads. See, the big ropes have now ended. There are now these subtle threads. They are thin, but they are clever in tying you in bondage. You are not even aware that you are being tied in the bondage, because these bondages also make you intoxicated for a temporary period. See, this is very deep. Because I am experiencing that intoxication based on some temporary factors, I will not even be able to realize that this is something that is tying me in a subtle thread. Right? The Baba says, those who have perishable intoxication never think of themselves as low. They would be in a gutter and think that they are in a palace. They would be empty handed and think of themselves as king. So, in the same way, those who have this intoxication also never consider themselves to be wrong. They would always either try to prove themselves right or would show carelessness. This happens all the time. It is always like this. This is why you have been told today just about the bondage of the mind. Baba will tell you about words and deeds at some other time. Do you understand? So it is a 2-day Murli, Saturday, and then we will also connect on Monday, right? So I'll just stop here for today. Okay, we'll take the prayer from Baba. To those who constantly attain liberation with the method of gaining spiritual power, to those who become bestowers of liberation and constantly free themselves from subtle bondages, to those who make themselves move constantly forward, the most with their inner happiness and supersensuous joy, to those who always have good wishes to make everyone liberated, to such spiritually powerful children, Bhaktadas love, remembrance, and namaste. From us children to our beloved Bhaktada, love-filled remembrance, and namaste. Okay. We will take a minute in silence and then shall share thoughts from the book. Om Shanti. You may share points from the book.
Om Shanti Deepika Ben, can you hear me?
Yes, Om Shanti. Please go ahead.
Yeah, because yesterday I couldn't be heard. Today, whatever we have read, I don't know, for me, it's a very encompassing topic, this word spirituality. And even funny, yesterday, even in Sakar Murli, the opening sentence of the Murli itself, Baba defined who are these children. That he's talking to spirits, that it's who talking to who, knowledge giving to who. And for he said that his children, spiritual children, knowledge is a spiritual birthright. But today, when this word spirituality came, if you ask me honestly, I just never thought spirituality existed only now in the conference age. If you see history, so many people had spiritual awakenings. Uh, my favorites are always Ramakrishna, Vivekananda, Aurobindo, or even Paramahansa. So spirituality was there from before. There was an attempt by so many souls to look beyond the body, to speak beyond the body, to experience what from mind to mind, and then bring about a kind of a heightened awareness of who we are. So I feel that spirituality already existed, where once when people went down to find out what is this mystery of the universe, what is this existence. Different people gave different approach, whether it is a scientific approach, whether it's a cell approach of Chopra. There were many. So I often find spirituality is not something which is where here Baba one sentence where he says that the speciality of Brahmin life is spirituality. But what I feel, it was an ongoing process from ages, maybe from the quest of the copperage, from the time when we started asking questions, from the time when we started searching. That was what I feel about spirituality. And spiritual power, if I feel, it's like an inner strength, something invisible, what I cannot do through this body, through this arms. So we need faith, we need effort, we need mindfulness, and also, and how do we approach the spiritual power? Through questions. Okay, what is that? What is that? When I go deep, deep, deep down within, myriads of experience I give. So that's how a yogi goes on a spiritual journey. But I find the only difference in what now Baba has introduced this spirituality is, earlier it was just going into the self. Here, like it's, I feel a triangular energy. I, God, and others. But I still cannot understand how Baba has to say that it is only now spirituality started. I think it is just now we are looking at spirituality and spiritual power in a different kaleidoscope, I think. I don't, that's what I was getting. Uh, of course, then when Baba came down to the bondage of mind, I think that's another churning which is beautiful, which Baba has explained. But I just wanted to know your thing. Don't you think spirituality is something which was always there, always there? It's only now we are trying to tap it with a different outlook. That's what I felt when the Murli was first read. Om Shanti.
Yeah. Would anyone want to share their thoughts on this? What sister has asked?
Om Shanti.
Om Shanti. Yes.
So, spiritual power is something, that is our inner power, right? So, the power, I suppose, that we use to overcome any sort of a weaknesses that we have. So, in this, Baba mentioned the bondages, right? Free from any sort of a bondage that we have. And spiritual power enables one to transform the self, actually, from a weak person to a powerful person, right? It works like Girijaban mentioned, invisible power. Nobody can see it, but it is working in a subtle fashion internally. Just like the electricity work, right, in a technology device or a machine, we don't see it, but we know that it is working with the electricity, with the power of electricity. So similarly, spirituality gives us so much of inner power, which can be used to transform the self to the next level. That also gives us a space wherein we can think, we can, bring a lot of change in our thought, words, and action. So that is why most of the people, if you look around in the world, any sort of a spiritual practice that they are doing, they completely look different in their behavior, in their in the way that they are behaving or interacting with people. They definitely stand different from all others. So I suppose all this coming from that spiritual power. And for us children, we know that the ultimate power is Baba, the Supreme Father, who is the ocean of all power, right? And we can take as much as power as we want to fill ourselves and make our the spirit strong. When it comes to spirit, the ultimate power is the Supreme Spirit. And when we take power from that supreme source of energy, right, we can overcome, or we can, take or uplift ourselves to the next level. Yeah, so that really gives us so much of power within the self. Yeah, thank you, Om Shanti.
Yes, thank you. Anybody else would like to add anything? One point that Girja sister said that, spirituality has been there throughout, like it was there uh, uh, like in the past ages also, and Wise Baba mentioning. A thought here comes in that, of course, people were in search for him and still do, like whatever Yogi, Tapasri, and many others in the world. But earlier, Baba wasn't there, and Baba is not there anywhere else. Just as Bijit Bhai also mentioned, for us children, spiritual power, or how do we relate to spirituality? How do we relate to that Ruhaniyat is nobody else but Baba, right? So, of course, the others were searching out, they were looking out, and they came up with many other factors like being mindful, practicing some kind of yoga, some kind of other tapasya. And they are not wrong. They are not wrong. But the journey uh, of a yogi ends when he reaches to that final point of, gaining that spiritual power, of meeting that Ruhani Shakti, which is nobody else but Baba. So I feel that, of course, the others were searching for him, but they could not find him. Baba was missing there. And since Baba is here with us, and then while he's here, we are called as Brahmins, we are known as Brahmins, and this is our Brahmin life. And that is why maybe Baba said that, this is the foundation of your Brahmin life. And the other thing also, in Hindi, when we read this Murli, it's more about Ruhaniyat. Ruh apni niyat mein टिक जाए, right? Spirit should be in his uh, natural, original form. So this knowledge, well, I guess it was people who did not reach actually to this knowledge and to the crux that yes, I am a being, and how am I to energize my own self to the spirit? That was somewhere lacking. And here is where Baba comes into picture by completing the entire circle from where the journey began of knowing the self and knowing the eternal truth.
Yeah, okay, Deepika Ben, I agree. I have already said that's what is the difference. I call it as the triangular energy. I, God, and instead of saying others, I can also put it as the universe. But before, it was more between. See, so many isms has come, whether it is Buddhism or Jainism, so many isms you'll see. Beautiful kind of thing about the soul had come off till we actually came to know about what Baba wants to say. Otherwise, I think we really enjoyed all those philosophies. Those philosophies were like, variety for us, something very different kind of thing, but each one had a purpose. But yes, there was only one missing connection. Like, see, even spiritual power. Nowadays, people get cured even with Reiki power, with Chi power, or with the Kundalini power. So even that they say it is spiritual power. But if you really go to the philosophy of each of this power, it is it is the source. Even they go up, whether it is Sahaj Yoga or something, they gather the energy from the source. That source they didn't define it as God. That was, they took it as an energy of the universe. It's really very wonderful if you study about how spiritual power emanated from the thing. But what I just wanted to add is it's only now when God comes into the picture. But all these reikis or chis or kundalini or saj yoga, they all had some missing connection, but they also had some success formula. Otherwise, they would not have stayed through thing. That's why they say whether it's Eastern or Western type of meditation, whether it is Ramakrishna or Spinoza philosophy, all were rich. But now this is not rich. This is something the only one. That's what I feel is this. But I don't know, whenever this word spirituality comes in, I remember reading a book about Anthony Strano on spirituality, a very encompassing view he gives. And what we do know as Brahmins in spirituality, we just, because I said everyone is a soul, when I look at another person, it becomes a habit. Okay, just look at the soul, look at the soul. It's not, that's what, as I put in the chat box, soul to soul is just an x ray vision. It's something more meaningful, going beyond the soul, seeing the beauty of the soul. I think that is spirituality, going beyond and seeing some kind and doing that with the divine connection. That's what I feel for me is spirituality. I can never take this just absolute soul consciousness. Just you are a soul, I am a soul, everyone is soul, and all. That I think it will become erotic, or sometimes it's even eerie for me if I go to a person and just look at the forward and say, no, I'm only a. That's what we do. That's what we say is this. Baba never does that. Sit down in Padramani and watch, you'll see Baba X-raying you totally. Beautiful that will be to see the drishti. I think sometimes spirituality over here, we take it in a very narrow meaning. That's what I just wanted to share. Om Shanti.
Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else would like to add anything here? Would like to share any other point? Okay, then we shall move towards the meditation for a minute. My sister, shall we do that? Or is there anything that you?
A quick announcement about tomorrow's
Sure.
session. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, so tomorrow is Sunday, so it's a buffer day. So we have a Murli Manthan session by Arif Bai. He will be conducting a Manthan session on the Murli Date, 27/11, 1985. So the Murli that we read that week, and yeah, this week, the beginning of the week. The title of the Murli is The Way to Forget the Old World and the Old Sanskar. So request everyone to join and take complete benefit of the session. Thank you. Over to you, Deepika Ben, for short meditation. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Om Shanti. Let's sit back for a minute. I, the being, subtle form of light, I look at myself shining bright, beautiful. I take my consciousness, shift my consciousness to Baba in Paramdham. I visualize this, that I am gaining a lot of spiritual power, Ruhani Shakti, that is helping me out to stay in the awareness, in the consciousness that I am a spiritual being, powerful, energetic, and beautiful. His spiritual power is helping me to carry forward my life, my practical life in a much more beautiful way, experiencing all his powers and energy practically in thoughts, words, and deeds. Come back in this world with this thought that I'm going to use this power throughout my day today. Thank you, Baba. Thank you. Shanti.
Om Shanti. Thank you, Deepika Ben. Thank you to Baba. Thank you, Divine Family. See you tomorrow at 5 a.m. Until then, have a lovely day.